it. And two, it's actually a pretty powerful graphic design tool if you use it the right way. It's actually surprising. So I've launched into PowerPoint. And oh, and if you don't have PowerPoint on your computer, you do know that you can download it for free from Seneca, right? So you do have access to free software through Seneca. If you don't have it, or if you have an older version, it's definitely worth upgrading before you leave because it's expensive software and you get it for free. And it's a lifetime subscription. So I launched into PowerPoint by typing in PowerPoint into my start menu and just hitting enter. And the first thing it asks me to do is, do I want to use a blank presentation or start with a template? Usually when it comes to infographics, I've noticed templates don't work so well because the templates are designed for presentations. So I tend to start with blank presentations and then build off of that. Now this looks a little bit more like a presentation, a little less like an infographic. The first thing I'm going to do is change the size of the slide. That way it kind of fits a little bit better with my infographic. And I do that by going to the Design tab, Slide Size, Custom Size. Here you can determine what size you want your slide to be manually, or you can use some of these presets. If you have to print out your infographic, like you have to provide a physical copy of it, I do suggest going with letter paper, just so you're printing on a page size. And then you decide if you want it to be portrait, which is, landscape, which is left to right, or portrait, which is up to down. It's asking me how do I want to work with anything that's on my slides. Since there's nothing on my slides, I just kind of go either or. And now my PowerPoint is starting to look a little bit more like something I can build an infographic on. Okay. So I already have an infographic that I've been working on. Let's take a look at that. So this infographic, first of all the data is made up. It's talking about, should student fees be increased to build parking lots? And I have some graphics here that I've used, and some of them I've manipulated. And I'm going to show you where you can get some graphics that are free of charge. So this graphic here, if we look at it as its original, it looks a little different. It has some text embedded onto it. It has two cars that are parked and a P, but I didn't want that. I wanted to edit that a bit. Before I go into how I edit it, let me show you where I got that from, because it's one of my favorite websites. It's called the Noun Project. The Noun Project is a repository of graphics that you can use free of charge, and it's huge. So I guarantee you can tell me to search for anything, and I bet you I'll find a graphic on it. Is there anything you wanted me to search for? Okay, so maybe I'll do, since we're having lovely weather, snow. So I've searched for snow, and the amount of graphics that come back for snow is probably going to be pretty extensive. And when I find that perfect graphic that I like, I select it. I go to get this icon, and here I'm asked, do I want to download it in the Pro version or the basic version? Essentially, the Pro version means you pay $2.99 for the graphic, but you don't have to cite it, and you can use it in anything, including brands and logos. But we don't mind citing today because it's an academic assignment. I'll go with the basic download. I'll hit continue. Asks me what type of graphic, or how am I using this graphic. I'll just go none of the above and choose use. Sorry, one quick thing I forgot to mention is you do have to make an account for this site. It's free to make the account. You can use your Seneca email. We've been using this site for a while now over at the library, and there's no problems we've had with it. So do feel confident making an account. So to continue, now it's asking you, do you need PNG or SVG format? I won't go into too much detail over the difference, but PNG is the one you want to use for this assignment. Once you've selected PNG, you can save the file. And then this is something you can drag into your PowerPoint. One benefit of this site is, as you can see, they embed the citation onto the graphic. So here's your citation information. Whether or not you want to maintain this in your infographic is up to you. What I like to do is I like to write down the citation separately and then crop it out and then write all my citations together at the bottom of my infographic. or on a separate page, depending on what your professor wants. So in order to do that, what I will do is I'll choose the graphic, I'll go to the Format tab, I'll go to Crop, and I'll use these black little bars to crop out the citation. And while I'm at the Format tab, I can also go to the Color option and recolor it if I wanted to. And that's kind of what I did there, in the sense that it has a citation, but I just cropped it. Now, let's talk about a couple things. Let's talk about colors first. So this infographic is using a few different colors, but it's using them consistently. So I have a color palette selected. If we go to the Design tab, and we go to Variants, you'll notice you can choose different color palettes. And these are the colors that your infographic would use. And depending on what you choose, you'll see that it changes dynamically. And it's something that you can use to kind of have a uniform look on your infographic. Also, if you wanted to, if you go to Customize Color, you can make your own. The same can be done with fonts. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're bringing in some text into your infographic, and I want my text to look just like this over here. If I bring it in and I start typing, it doesn't look the same. So what a lot of people tend to do is they highlight the text, they maybe bold it, change the color, change the font, and so forth. You have a few different options. One, if you know you're going to be using the same font throughout the whole infographic, if you go back to Variants or Design, Variants, you have font families. And switching the font family will switch the type of font that your infographic uses. You can see that it's changing dynamically. That way, every time you bring in text, it's always going to take that new font. So that's one shortcut. And another shortcut is, if you did want your text to replicate another text style, put your cursor on that text style, go to the Home tab, Format Painter, and highlight your text, and it'll take whatever style you had on before. So it's just another quick way to kind of replicate what you're already working on. All right. So let's continue looking at this. So I have this graphic here, and as I mentioned, it looks a little bit different. And I didn't really do any major editing. All I used was some basic tools. So for instance, I have a card here that I hid, and I hid that by going to the Insert tab, making a shape, and making the shape exactly the same color as the background of my infographic. And I did that by going to the Shape Fill, using the eyedropper, and just selecting the color that works. And I get rid of the outline, and now I have a mask that I can use. So I did that here. I also did that with the P that was on there. I have a mask covering it. And then I just brought in a text box and wrote the money sign. And then this one here, the card that's kind of leaving, all I really did was did a very tight crop, and then use this little circular arrow on top to pivot the card. All right, let's continue going down. Student survey, I have 60 undergrad students, 75 graduate students. You know, I like this, but I might want to change this. I'm not too happy with all this text, but we'll do that later. I'm going to continue scrolling down. Here I'm using a chart. This chart I brought in by using the chart tool, which lets you bring in pre-populated charts. Once you select the chart that works for you, you can edit the information on the chart by going to the Design tab and Edit Data. And when you edit this information, it brings up this little Excel document, and you're able to change the information dynamically, meaning if I change something here, it'll reflect on my chart right away. So it's a lot easier to work with one of these. And then again, you can also change color to best fit your presentation if you'd like, and so forth. Here's another type of chart that I've done, and this one I had to build manually. I couldn't find a chart that would fit right here perfectly, so I actually went in there and I built everything step by step. It might be something that you might have to do as well, and by doing that, you are typing out each text, you're bringing in each shape, and you're just making sure that it fits right. Finally, I have my citations in the bottom because I cropped them all out of my graphics, so I put them all in the bottom here. I always get asked what citation style I should use. That's really up to you. If your prof told you to use APA or MLA, listen to your prof. Usually when it comes to digital assignments like this, what we recommend, put the name of the graphic, put where you got it from, and the name of the author. Those three things, in our eyes, satisfy citation needs. But if your prof told you to use APA style, then go ahead and use it. Okay. Once I'm done with this build, and I'm happy with my graphics, I'm happy with everything that I've done to it, and maybe I got a friend to review it. Let me just get rid of this slide. What I'm going to do now is save this in a way that I can share it with my prof, and I do that by going to the File tab, Save As. I locate where I want to save it, and here where it says Save As Type, I just switch that over to PDF. And saving it as a PDF means that if your prof doesn't have PowerPoint or is using an Apple computer or whatnot, you can still access this. Yes? How do I make the line? Oh, great question. I'll show you how to make the line. Just to give you one last tip, if you made this large, like poster size, this is printer friendly. So you can take this to a printer and have a poster printed from this too. So it's really useful like that. The line I made, so there's a line tool. So if you go Insert, Shape, you have these different lines that you can use. So I use the squiggly one, and I kind of just positioned it how I wanted it to be. And then I went to Shape Outline. I added some weight to it. And then I went to dashes, and I added some dashes to it as well. Awesome. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Okay, so I mentioned I wasn't too happy about this, that I found it too text heavy, so I'm going to switch it around. I'm going to get rid of that for now, and I'm going to make it graphical. I'm going to use this graphic here that I grabbed, and I'll bring it in, maybe resize it. So if you recall, I had 60 undergrad students, so I'm going to make this represent 10, and I'll make 6 copies of them. So 1, Control C, Control V, 2, sorry, 1 second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll move 1 all the way to the end here. I'll highlight all of them. And now I'll use my Align tools. Align to the top. Align, distribute horizontally. And I'll just bring this back. Get rid of this text. Here we go. And I'll do the same thing for graduate students. But graduate students are a little different because I have 75. So how do I represent 75? So I'll grab the same icon as I did before, bring it to the top here, resize this, and then now, instead of 75, I'll make 8 of them. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll bring the 8th one maybe over here. Again, I'll highlight all of them. Oops. I'll align to the top. I'll distribute horizontally. But now it's saying 80, and I really wanted 75. So what I'll do to represent that half is I'll copy and paste this one. I'll change the color of it to, let's say, a light gray. And I'll place it right on top of it, so it's kind of hiding the previous one. And I'll send it to the back. And then I'll get this one here, and I'll use that crop tool we did before, and just move it down to about half. So very basic kind of like tools that you can use, but you can still tell a pretty concise message with it. Right. Any questions? Yes?
Just like, how do you go to make like the slide?
How to make this up? Oh yeah, for sure. So let me show you on a new presentation. I go to design, slide size, custom size. Here I can write a number, so if I wanted to make it 17 inches, I can do that. Or I can use some of these preset ones, including letter paper, which is the size of a page. And then you can have it portrait, which is up and down, or landscape, left and right. And that kind of looks like it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let me show you one more tool. This one's online based, and it's kind of fun too. So this one is called